most probably so many people have been in a confusion that what is client-side code and what is server-side code. So in this class, I would like to explain you that what is client-side code and what is server-side code, and I'm going to explain with a small example of login page, and what are the languages used at client-side code and what languages are used at server-side code. So how to identify the client-side and server-side code. So if you want to implement the client-side and server-side code, what are the pre-requirements needed to implement this? So this is the concepts what I'm going to give you an idea in my class today. So first of all, our concept is that what is client-side and what is server-side code. To make you understand this example, I'm going to take one scenario here is that see that if you observe this uh, here, it is been having some servers, it is having some clients. So the left side C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, these are all nothing but clients. And this is server 1 and server 2, this is being connected with some internet connection. So assume that so many people's having their Gmails. So when you have been, if you want to access any Gmail, you are going to access a login page. So that login page, whatever you are accessing in your system, now your system is nothing but client, and the page where it is located, the page that is located in some other location, that is in server side. So let us take that I'm going to access one login page in my system, client system. So here the username and password is been entered in this system. This has been there in your login client side page. Now if you observe the page, so this is your login page. Okay, this login page is being accessed in the client system, but actually this login page is located in the server system. Okay, so when a user enters the username and password, and when you enter sign in, this username and password is being sent to the server, and in the server we are going to cross check. So we are going to cross check this data whether you entered the valid or not here. So the data what you have been entered, that is been cross checked in the server side. If you enter the valid username and password, then the server is going to give response to you in another page or any information. But what is the problem here is that when you enter the username and password, whether it is valid or not, that is to be cross-checked at the server side. So what the server side is doing here, the work what the server side here is doing is that first uh, it is going to check whether you entered a username and password. Okay, if you not enter the username and password, it should ask you that please enter the username and password. And second, after entering username and password, okay, it should cross check whether you entered a valid username and password or not. So here, what is the problem here is when I come to the server side, the server is not going to accept only single client request. It is going to accept a number of clients request. Means every time the server is very busy to check each and every client's username and password whether entered or not, and after entering the username and password whether it is valid or not. So what happened here is that to decrease the client side work, the which is not necessary to keep confidential, the type of things are being placed in the server side. So here work what is the first work which is there, this code is being, this work is being shared to the client side. So the client side, what we are doing here is that before sending the username and password to check whether it's valid or not in the server side, we were going to check whether the client entered the username and password or not. Without entering the username and password, if you send it to the server, what happened here, it is wasting its time to check that whether it entered or not. So where every time the server is very busy, so that's why, so the code is being, this the work of the server is being divided. Some of the work is being given to the client side and some of the work is being done at the server side. So what the work is being done at the client side here is, so when a client is been entering the username and password, without enter the username and password, you should not able to send that data to the server side. So for that, we are going to write a code in the client side. The client side code what we are using is nothing but like a Java script or VB script. And when it comes to the server side, check whether the valid username and password are there. So to check that, the server side code what we are using here is uh, server side code we are using like uh, PHP, ASP, mm, ASP, like that. So many scripting languages are there for writing the server side. So code what you are writing here is that the work, whatever the work should be done at the server side, the code what you are writing is nothing but server side code. The code what to be executed at the client side, here the client side code what you are writing is nothing but client side code. So for writing the client side code, we are going to use JavaScript and VB and whereas coming to the server side code, now we are going to write a PHP or JSP or USB or some server-side codes are being used. So to make you understand clearly that, I'm going to take an example of my a login page what I created here. So let us see now, this is the page what I been created. So before that, I'll show the code what I created here. See, this is one login page, and in this login page I have been written a code, client side code. So it is using a JavaScript. This code is going to make you check that whether you entered a username and password or not. Without entering your username and password, it is not going to make you to send the data to the server. So where it is going to send, so it is going to send the data server to one page that is nothing but some check.php page. So that is located in the server. To this page my username and password is being cross-checked. So in check.php, observe now, this is my check.php. In this check.php, whether you entered a username and password or not, it is being cross-checked here. So this is one page, check.php is there, login.php is there. This both are there in the server only. But when you access this page, the code what is executing at the client side, the code what is executing at the server side, I'm going to show you practically. See here. So when I open this page, so localhost is my server and cdu.com is my website name. In that I have been accessing that login.page. So when I accessing this login page, it is going to ask you that enter the username and password. Suppose I'm entering only the username as Ranjit and I'm not entering the password. When I say sign in, it is displaying the message, means it is stopping you here itself that before going to send the data to the server, it is stopping here itself that please enter your username and password. So why? Because without entering the username and password, if you send that, again the server should cross check and it should send again reply for you that please enter again username and password. So the worker which is very server is very busy every time. So to decrease the work only, we are doing this. We are sharing the work to some part of work code is client side and some part of code is at server side. So now I am entering the uh, password. Okay, so now I got some reply that your username is Ranjit and your password is password. So once I can see the here, so when you enter the username and password, suppose if you right click here and if you see the view page source, whatever the code I have been written here, see in this login page. So this is my login page. Whatever the code I have been written here, this code is being shown to client side, that what code you have been written here. Okay, but suppose now if I enter the username and password. Okay, when I say sign in, if you see the right click and you see the page source, the code is not visible. Your username is Ranjit and your password is password, that's all. But actually the code what I here used is that check.php. This is the code. So this is the code what I written here. But whereas coming to the system, when you see in the browser, I'm unable to see the code, that check.php code, because check.php code, whatever you have written, it is been executing in the server side. But whereas coming to the login page, the code what your this is being executing in the client side. So a small blind thing that we can understand that the code what is executing in the client system can be visible, the code what is executing in the server side, that cannot be visible. So I hope that this class is going to give you an idea that what is client side code and what is server side code. So once I'm going to give you an idea that what are the pre-requirements needed for executing this client side code and server side code. So once you want to have a browser and you want to have a server, so in my system I'm having a XAMPP server, and I have been using a Node++. You can use any editor, and you want to have a knowledge on that what is one client side code, like either JavaScript or VB script, and you want to have one server side code, how to write that, either maybe PHP or JSP or ASP and anything. And if you're having these four concepts in your mind, you can start building your client side code or server side code, means like you can build your some websites. So I hope that this class is going to give you a small idea that what is client side code and server side code. Thank you very much.